What is going on, my millions of Milliginians? It is, of course, your boy, Matty Milligan. This is episode number 19 of the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Ooh. Today we are talking about how to capture the perfect testimonial. But first, I want to caution you and to warn you and to advise you. Do not use this for evil means. Do not use this to make fake reviews for your business and for yourself and your own personal brand. Do not use this in a very dishonest way and get other people to do fake video testimonials for you. This is very powerful stuff I'm about to tell you, and I just had to get that out of the way first of all before we proceed. So I'm going to go through this in a couple of ways. The first thing I'm going to share with you is the 3 rules of a testimonial. Then I'm going to give you the questions you should probably ask. And then I'm going to give you some tips on camera work for capturing these. Because a lot of people ask, they're like, hey, Matty, should I get video testimonials or just the written ones? And it's like, you should probably get the video ones because you can always just transcribe them and take out the best pieces, which subsequently become your written ones for your reviews on your website. All right, so first things first. The first is the 3 rules of a testimonial. I got this from Childers Chunks. This dude, John Childers, who was a big stage speaker and stage seller in, I think, the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And I've taken one of his courses called Childers Chunks. And one of the sections in there, he gives the 3 rules of a testimonial. So let's dive into these right now. Number 1 is person needs to be likable. This is very obvious, right? So this doesn't mean necessarily the person needs to be good looking. They just need to be very friendly, and they need to be someone that is smiling a lot, and they need to be very enthusiastic when they're talking. And at the same time, there's certain parts where when they're sharing their story of where they were before they found your product or service, that maybe they weren't so happy, right? But the fact that they can transition, that's essentially what's going to make them likable. And in some cases, they're just sharing that vulnerability when they're talking about the bad things that have happened to them. That's going to make it so that when people are looking at that, they're like, whoa, I can totally relate to that. It's relatable, right? And usually from what I've seen, having women in your testimonials does work a lot better than having men. And again, whether it's a good-looking woman or a not-so-good-looking woman, that's not necessarily relevant at this point. What is relevant, again, is the fact that she can communicate in a very straightforward way, that they smile, that they're enthusiastic about you, and they speak very highly of you. That is all that you really need to capture in terms of likability. And again, one of the biggest persuasion principles is likability. So when someone else sees someone out there that they can like, then again, that's going to kind of be one of the triggers that might convince them to take the next steps. Number 2 is the person needs to have a problem that relates to your audience. So if you're selling fitness products or weight loss products, obviously you should have a testimonial from someone who's likable that has lost some weight using your programs. Or maybe you're a coach and you've helped them coach, or you've coached them through something. So having those is super important. When people speak highly of you, it's also just going to make it a lot easier. But it really needs to just be something relatable, right? It needs to be someone that, again, they need to have kind of had that problem. That way the person who's viewing this, they're like, oh, I have that same problem. And then the person goes through it and basically they share their story, and that's essentially what, again, makes them end up buying it. So again, number 1 needs to be likable. Number 2, they need to have a problem that relates to your audience. Number 3 is the person needs to have overcome the problem and get results using your product. So again, same thing with weight loss, right? It's like, hey, like have a likable person, have the problem that relates to your audience where, again, maybe the person was overweight and it's like, oh, I was overweight before, and essentially I used that product and got those specific results. That's essentially what the testimonial is, right? Very simple rules here, to be honest, right? Like stupid simple rules that you really just need to ask yourself when you're done recording the testimonial. Just ask yourself those 3 questions, and if you say yes to all of them, it's like, okay, this is an awesome testimonial. Now when it comes down to the questions, what I like to do is I like to ask the person a question just to kind of get them in the state of mind And I usually don't use their answer for that first thing or the soundbite necessarily, but basically what I'll ask them is, hey, when did you know that this particular benefit or solution or product or service was going to work for you? And then they'll be like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Again, this gets them in the headspace of thinking about that problem or that product and really just getting into that emotional state. And then the next thing I'll be like, okay, what is the moment that you knew that this time the, again, benefit, solution, product, service was going to work for you? And again, this is all just priming them to get them into that state, to get the interviewee really into just the right headspace. So they're thinking about the product, the service, the benefit that they had, the problem, the pain that they were in, like where they wanted to go in terms of their desires, what their false beliefs were, what their objections are. That's why I really ask them that question. So they get into that emotional state of thinking about that thing. And the first question that I'll ask is, what is it that was such a big problem when you began? Or what was your big challenge when you decided to buy the product or service? So again, I'm really just talking about that, where they're talking about the problem that they had. And again, probably here they're going to share some of their false beliefs and their objections, and really just the headspace that they were in. Number 3 is the transformation question, where it's like, what has changed, or what became so awesome about X? And X is the problem that you solved with the product, right? So it's like, what's so awesome about the fact that you used this product and got that you overcame that problem? So what was it that was so awesome about using this weight loss product that actually made you lose weight? And then again, they're going to talk about it. They're going to share how passionate they were and really the transformation that they had to go through, right? And how they changed. Future impact, number 4. What does the future hold now that you have solved X? Or if you continue using this amazing thing, what's going to happen? And from here, it's like, okay, now I'm really going to get them thinking about the future and showing the person what the future looks like for them and the impact that it's really going to have on their life, but also the lives of their friends and their family and the world in general. Number 5 is the resistance push. So this is one where you want to kind of ask this because this is going to get other people really believing it, and you'll see what I mean in a second. So it's, what would you say to someone who is considering whether or not to put this system to work for them, or to get to buy this product or to purchase this product? This is aimed at helping any existing customers push past the resistance to purchasing your product or service, right? So like it's pretty straightforward at that point, right? You basically just ask that to overcome the resistance in that viewer's mind who's actually watching that. And then finally, actually just read off that last sentence, just thought it was part of it, but whatever. And oh yeah, that comes to the last thing. The note, which is, don't just read these questions out. You got to modify them, sort of like the way I just there. You have to make them really fit the conversation based on your product and services and the needs in your specific market. So, and also don't do what I just did, and what I always make the mistake of doing is revealing the numbers. Where it's like, all right, question number 1. It's like, just start asking them the questions out of nowhere. Like there's no beginning or end, and sure, they might be like, oh, this is a lot of questions at some point, but like, yeah, you know what, we're just done. We just have a couple more questions, and just ask a couple more questions. But dude, how many was that? Like 5 questions you can ask someone, and you could even modify them. And again, if you don't get the soundbite you want, ask it in a different way. And then the last part that I'm going to share with you is how to actually capture these on video. So I'm not a great videographer, which is why I struggle creating content, to be honest, a lot of the time. And I bought a camera. Like I think I spent like $1,500 on this one camera and then $1,000 on the other, and I don't use it. I need to use it more. But what ended up happening was somehow it must have got banged or something, and it just completely stopped working. But I just shoot everything on my phone, and you can just totally use your own phone. Like if you have a device that's made after like 2013, you're gonna have pretty good camera quality, to be honest, right? You'll probably be able to shoot 1080p on your phone regardless at this point, if not 4K with certain phones. But there's a rule of thirds. So if you're looking on camera right now, if I were doing a testimonial, I would kind of have it like probably like something like this, with me talking off camera, really like looking like that, talking to the person is talking to me right here. And again, it's just more trustworthy. When you see those testimonials, when people are staring at the camera, it looks like they're crazy. So have them staring off camera like the way I am right now. And again, there's the rule of thirds, I think it's called, where see how I'm kind of in 1/3 and there's 2/3 right over here. Shoot these and have some like cool like blurred out background of like a city or maybe the forest, or like like a park, like have something unique in the background, right? If it's a fitness facility, have the gym in the background. So that's essentially, again, make sure that you're off center. Don't get the person to look at the camera. Feed them the questions, right? And you should like be nodding too when you're asking the questions, be like, oh, really interesting. Okay, cool. And again, you can just edit it out and then edit out what they're asking afterwards as well. All the ums and ahs and all the sound bites that don't make sense. This is why asking them the same questions that I gave you in a different way is very effective, because you find the really good sound bites and then basically just use those. And you can do this too. A good thing to do is maybe go to a networking event where you've gotten some people results, or next time you're at some sort of party and speak with them, and then again hold your camera, like go up to them, and when you're doing just be like, hey man, do you mind giving me a testimonial, like I've helped you in the past, man. And they'll be like, yeah, cool. And I'm exaggerating, like it's probably a little more challenging. There's different ways you can go about getting testimonials. Like I would recommend getting testimonials right after you get people results, when they're kind of in that high, being like, oh man, when things are going great, that's the best time to get a testimonial. But a lot of the time as a business owner, you're so busy and you don't think about that, just capturing that testimonial. But that's really the best time to get people to capture testimonials and get the best testimonials, when you've just gotten people results. And then add a music track that's very emotional, like some kind of like slower, inspirational, like piano music. Like I like these kind of like decent paced piano ones where it kind of builds to a crescendo. Those are very inspirational and those work extremely well in your testimonials. Now, with these testimonials, having one is going to do nothing. You need to have multiple different testimonials. The benefit of having lots of them too is once you get them together, they just make your webinars and your video sales letters so much more effective, because you can brag about how awesome your products are, but when you're like, but don't just take my word for it, take the advice of this person. And sure, one testimonial, like I said, is good, but when you just layer them on, and again, when each testimonial overcomes a different false belief and objection someone might have about your product, then it's kind of game over, right? Like in that person's mind, it's like, okay, but wait, like what about this? And then again, you show them someone who had that same result, someone just like them and had the same problem and overcame it. And they're just like, okay, I have to buy this. There's no logical reason why I wouldn't purchase something like this. So that's really just my tips on how to capture these. I've worked with several clients recently and I've given them this exact same thing. And this is all yours. This is stuff that I should probably charge for, to be honest, because it's really just that freaking good in my opinion. But it's yours for free, and feel free to share this with someone else. And if you really liked today's video, here's my ask, guys. I would like you to actually just review my podcast. I'd really appreciate that. Or go over to my Facebook page and leave me a review, just sharing some insights about how you feel about me, how you feel about the content. Maybe I've helped you in the past. Maybe I've over-delivered in the past, given you something. And if you dislike me, just don't leave a review, okay? Just keep it between us. No, but seriously, I don't really mind. If you just want to leave a review, that would be awesome. And I'm going to be talking more about some other things, more niche specific things, I think, over the next few days, because I'm working on a lot. There's one thing I want to talk about, which is people that work in the spirituality woo-woo niche, and in some cases they just thinking about getting more money and getting more clients is going to work, and just some weird stuff that I think about that niche. But I've worked with a few people in the niche. I think it's still a very cool niche, and it's definitely something you need, but just some insights into it, I think, to help out more so people that are in that niche already, just to help them take their marketing skills really to the next business. I've actually, on a side note, booked a pretty good guest for the month of December. In fact, on New Year's Eve of all days, and then I'll release it a few days after that. But I think getting this one person on the podcast is really going to help me get other decent interviews on this podcast. And I'm really looking for people that have businesses, usually where they've done about 7 figures in sales, where they're in the so-called 2 Comma Club, and they really just want to help share their knowledge and really just help give some insights into how anyone can build a very profitable, long-term, and sustainable business. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and consider subscribing. Consider going back and maybe even watching a few more episodes if you did really enjoy this. This is your boy, of course, Matty Milligan, and I will see you next time on another episode of the Underground Marketing Conspiracy. Woo!